From the east to the west, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. We are in our final day of the week today, so it's not the biggest sports day today. We don't have that many college basketball games. Got to make sure I take my pill. So don't worry, it's real medicine. It's nothing crazy. So I won't be off the rails or anything like that. But we do have ourselves All-Star Weekend this weekend in Utah, of all places. And I know that a lot of people are probably looking forward to that in the good old Salt Lake City. And they have very, very, very fun activities set up and everything like that, but we'll get into that in a moment. But we do have NBA news that I really didn't get into because we had big trades happening all week last week and everything like that, and I pretty much was on the row. I was a little bit more worried about the NFL going on, those situations. So pretty much I didn't get to get my 2 cents on KD and Russ moving and things like that. So we'll start today with talking about none other than KD and his brand new team, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns and KD are all in. It's ring or bust mode. Is it ring or bust mode? Yes, it is ring or bust mode for this Phoenix team because they are at their wits' end. They know that they don't have too much time left with Chris Paul. Also, they know that DeAndre Ayton is probably going to be a high asset to yield in more pieces down the road. Devin Booker, has already got his extension, but I know he's going to be looking at another extension. And I think that he's probably telling himself that, do I still want to really be here? KD wants to play here because he wants to have a guy who's already the leader. That's the whole thing. KD does not want to be the leader of a team, but he did have some powerful stuff to say about his time in Brooklyn, how he didn't really want to leave Brooklyn. He didn't really mention leaving Brooklyn this season, but they said that they just wanted to make sure that, everybody, that they just cleared the house, you know what I mean? Because it just didn't work. It was supposed to be him and Kyrie taking over New York, being the new faces in New York, being the new New York hoop story. But that never came to be because both guys stayed hurt and they went through a few coaches as well too. It just never worked. And it's kind of sad to see that it didn't work. But now he's in Phoenix. Phoenix is telling themselves this is the last ditch effort on them winning a championship. But I think that this might be their out. In my opinion, because they can't do anything but win. There's no excuse there. They will be judged on how far they go into the playoffs. This team doesn't have the same makings of the team last year that played out of their minds literally throughout the whole season, then got tired in the second round. This team has a Kevin Durant who's going to be coming in here somewhat fresh, but still, I don't trust the situation. Kevin Durant has a lingering knee injury that's been a problem for some time now. So what are we really doing here? I think that they told themselves that, okay, the Mavs are going to get Kyrie. They're going to do an NBA Jams type situation with these two. And then why don't we do this? We know that we can't trust Chris Paul, and we know DeAndre Ayton is not going to be 2010 every night. So let's go ahead and get rid of three of our core players in Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Cam Payne, a couple picks, and then we'll see if we can do this thing right. I feel like they got rid of the guys that really put them over the top in reality, and this is where they're going to really suffer at because I keep saying the Nets are still going to make the playoffs, and it's not going to be a playing situation for them. They got 3 guys that are very capable of becoming stars in the NBA, and now they have a place where they can really do that. KD is going to be asked to do a lot in a little bit of time. And I don't think that's going to be very helpful towards KD. But I know what KD's thinking, that this is like going back to a situation like with the Warriors. You got guys that want to work, they want to practice, they want to do everything. But I truly do feel like this is a last-ditch effort. They're selling the team right now for $4 billion. This is something to get Phoenix fans to still have interest in the Suns, because at the end of the day, if the Suns don't win, nobody's showing up to those games. So they got to win, and they pretty much invested in winning, because they did spend a lot of time losing in the NBA as well. So with that, KD and the Suns, it seems like a very risky move. Will it pay off? Only time will tell at this moment. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into some Russ business. And Russell Westbrook, best fit once his buyout is done. Is it the Clippers or the Heat? I think those are the 2 teams that are in the running for Westbrook. Some have said that he's willing to go back to play with Brad Beal and the Wizards as well, too, because he really did enjoy his time in Washington as well. But I think that Russ's best bet is to go to the Heat, because why would you want to come back to Los Angeles and then there's going to be there's going to be even more pressure on you than it was with LeBron and AD, because now you're going to be with PG-13 and with Kawhi, and these are 2 guys that may not be showing up for 2 weeks straight, and he wants to start in for the Clippers as well too. So is that something that they can, is that something that they can manage? Is that something that they want to do when it comes down to Russell Westbrook? I think that Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers isn't a good fit, because you just literally just left Los Angeles, and the ridicule you went through with the Lakers and the media in Los Angeles, it's just going to double down a little bit more with the Clippers, because the Clippers actually have higher expectations than the Lakers, believe it or not, this season. They're thinking ring or bust as well too. And is Westbrook the type of guy you bring in a ring or bust situation? Probably not. The Heat, on the other hand, though, they need the help. They need the body. They need somebody there to really step in and, do their thing and come up big for this team that's really looking for some explosiveness. We all know that Westbrook did fairly well with Victor Oladipo when he was in OKC for that short period of time as well. And we just know that the way that the Heat play, it's a little bit more fitting of Russell's style. And I think that Russ has really made a home in the Eastern Conference as well, too. His best days in the West are far behind him, but in the Eastern Conference, he fares pretty well, because the style of play that happens in the Eastern Conference, they're not so jumper dependent in that conference. And literally, they're still playing hard defense at the end of the day. So that's something that Westbrook was very good at for the Lakers, and that's something that they will miss from Westbrook as well too. It wasn't all that bad with Westbrook in La La Land with the Lakers, but I think though with the Clippers, he fits right in, but the Clippers just don't have what it takes to really hold on to his attention, in my opinion. I think that they're going to try to do the same type of little nitpicky moves that the Lakers did as well too, and I think this just won't be a good fit. But if he does go to the Clippers, they will become pretty much the talk of the town. They'll have a little bit more press clippings and things like that, because the Clippers are the only team I know that literally is cruising right now in a playoff position, and they're not saying one word about them. All they're saying is that they look like they could be my title contender. But I don't know if the Clippers are at that point yet, but we will see how it goes. But Russell Westbrook will be the highest rated asset once he is bought out by Utah. I think that all in all, the talking heads still respect Russell Westbrook's game in a high fashion, but they just didn't want him on the Lakers. You know what I mean? They just don't want him on the Lakers. They didn't want to see some Showtime type situation with AD and LeBron. They didn't want that. So they made sure that They ridiculed the situation. They made sure that he was the scapegoat for every mistake that was made on that team. And so now he gets a fresh start to where he won't get that same attention and that same, backlash from the media, because now he's not on the team. He's not on the team that they don't want him to be on. So it is what it is. And pretty much that's all Russell Westbrook is dealing with right now, is that they never wanted him to be a Laker. And it's just that simple. Now he's not a Laker, and he's moving on to another team, and now he's seen as a great asset to the team, former MVP, and he can put teams over the top. Wasn't that the case when he went to Houston? Wasn't that the case when he went to the Lakers? It's like, just stop playing make-believe with this situation. We know Westbrook is a high-end player, and we know that whoever he gets to, he's going to add a tremendous individual to that roster. And I think that the Clippers or the Heat will be the choice, but I think that South Beach is looking a little bit more sexier than Sunset Boulevard. So there it is. We move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about our next topic, which is going to be in college basketball. And last night, the Terps went ahead and got the big upset over number 3 Purdue, who looked like they were about to slide back into that number 1 spot, maybe for the third time this season. But Purdue is upset on the road in College Park, losing to Maryland 68-54. How far will they fall in the rankings? I don't think they're going to fall far at all, because this was a tough road game. When you looked at the line was literally split down the middle as well, too. The Terps, though, they went on a great run last night. They took care of their business, and they did everything that they had to do to win that game. So, there's nothing that they could truly do about it. So they're just dealing with the way of – you got to deal with the way of the world. You know what I mean? And I think that all in all, this winds up being a very, very good measurement game for Purdue, as they're 3 games away from their conference tournament. They need to get these wake-up calls to show them that it's not going to be that easy night in and night out. And we all know that going to College Park for these teams this season in the Big Ten has been a really tough task, and Purdue was no exception to that. I think that Maryland is a team that's going to be able to bowl well in the conference tournament as well, too. So this is just a good warm-up, but I still think Purdue is really head and shoulders above the rest of the Big Ten. And it was hard for me to really want to admit that, but as I've seen Purdue play teams this year, they literally pick teams apart and really go ahead and handle their business. They really only get into these spots when they have a bad shooting night, and they haven't had many bad shooting nights. So Purdue is a team that is a little shaky, but you're still confident in this team to win the Big Ten as well, too. Now, the Terps, on the other hand, they went ahead and just increased their chances to get into the tournament. But this is a big win for UCLA in a sense, because UCLA went to Maryland and literally beat the doors off of Maryland. At one point, they were up 40 points, I think, in that game, 30, 40 points. And they wound up winning the game by 27. So that goes to show you that UCLA might be on a whole nother level than the rest of the Big Ten Conference as well, too. So that's why I feel like UCLA with a big win tomorrow will be able to move into the number 1 spot, because they crushed Maryland. And Maryland went in here and beat the number 3 team in the nation, a team that's been number 1 in the nation twice, by 14. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But this should be a fun weekend. I feel like there's going to be some upsets happening this weekend as well, too. And Maryland just kind of got it started with it. But number 1 has fallen in Alabama, which was on Wednesday. And then last night, number 3 is fallen. Houston plays Memphis on Sunday. We're going to preview that game in a moment. And then but first, let's go ahead and jump into UCLA real quick, because UCLA did get themselves a good win last night, but they had to work for it. They are the number 4 team in the nation right now. They had to play against arch rival Stanford as well, too, last night. So that wound up being a game that they had to grind out on their way to sweeping their rival Stanford as well, too. It's a trap game, even with the Golden Bears' poor play. Now, the Golden Bears last night got beat by almost 40 points. They've been an absolute car wreck this season as well, too. Now, they did get themselves a pretty good win earlier in the year against Colorado at home. Now, when they played UCLA prior, that was another just UCLA just from the tip to the final buzzer was just an absolute just wreck of this team. And, Cal is coming into this one with the idea that, we're Cal, we're old rival of these guys. We feel like we can do something. This is their first and only matchup this season as well, too, from what I'm seeing here as well. So, Cal, they just haven't played good basketball this season. UCLA can kind of go to sleep at the wheel here, but I doubt it. Cal has literally they had a nice little back-to-back where they beat Colorado and Stanford on consecutive weeks, and that's the last time that they've had any wins. They've literally went up in here and lost the last 10 in a row, and their games either are really close or they're really a blowout, but they always lose by 8 or better in these games. So last night they lost by 37, and they should be going into this game with a big chip on their shoulder, with the idea that UCLA might not take them as seriously as they should. But when you're scoring at one point, they were only getting 46 points a game for about four straight games. They've cleaned that up. We're getting 62 or less in their last few games. But I still think that this game really does work out for UCLA in a sense to where they can be as dominant as they want to be in this spot tomorrow. But they can't go to sleep at the wheel. This is a very vital game. And I think that possibly UCLA, if they don't blow them out, they'll figure out a way to keep UCLA at number 2. And I think that if Arizona goes through a sweep this weekend as well, too, they're going to decide between Arizona and UCLA on who the number 1 team in the nation is going to be. But regardless of anything, it looks like that we're headed towards a big-time Pac-12 showdown. And it's crazy because these are the only 2 teams ranked in the Pac-12 as well, too. And they're both top 10, and they're both 4 and 5. And literally, you have the 1 and 3 lose this weekend, and the 2 is possibly can get upset on Sunday as well, too. So Pac-12, regardless of how they feel about the Pac-12 has 2 of the better teams in the nation that have a very good opportunity at possibly winning the national championship. So this is a very iron sharpens iron type situation, but Cal is a good game for UCLA to go ahead and show exactly who they are and why they need to be recognized as the number 1 team in the nation. They literally, to me, need to beat them by 20 or better to really impress upon to the voters that they're serious, because they can't make this a close game like they did the other night with Stanford. Stanford only lost by 9 points, and Stanford was like right there in the thick of things most of the night. You know what I mean? Because they did have a 4-point lead at the half. UCLA had to go ahead and turn it on in the second half, outscoring them 46-33. But, UCLA doesn't want to be giving up 30 points in a half anyway. That's not their style. So this game was a big wake-up call to make them understand that, it's real right now. You have a big target on your back, and you guys got to step it up. Jaime was huge, 26 points. That was everything. That was sort of the difference. Jalen Clark, another big night for him, 16 points. Bono was good, perfect from the field with his 8. And Tiger was really good as well, too, last night. His shooting wasn't great, but his leadership was there as usual with the 7 points. Dave Singleton came in, hit a few threes as well, too. That was much needed. McClendon and Andrews did their part. Nueva did his part as well, too. But all in all, these guys were just they didn't need much last night to win that game. They went 9 deep. They went ahead and got themselves a good win. So with that, UCLA will be back at it tomorrow I think it's going to be 7:30 tomorrow at Poly. The game is going to be on the Pac-12 network as well, too. So UCLA is looking to add on to their winning streak that they've got right now of 5 games after losing those 2 back-to-backs back in January. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But UCLA looking to take over the number 1 spot this weekend. They already got 2 teams out the way. But, it's all about winning on Saturday. That's it. Because if they lose Saturday, they'll probably drop them down to like 12 or 13. And UCLA doesn't want any parts of that. And last time that I checked potential seeds, they're saying right now UCLA will be nothing lower than a 2 seed at this point. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be our college basket. That's going to be our UCLA review right there. So you guys just hold tight. When I get back, we're going to talk about NBA All-Star Weekend, and then we're going to get into the top college basketball games of the weekend as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. NBA All-Star Weekend. Oh, man. NBA All-Star Weekend is not what it used to be. It used to be like the weekend, you know what I mean, where all the celebs, all the actors, all the players, everybody, let's get together in this significant city, and we're going to have some fun All-Star Weekend. It was literally like Black celebrity reunion weekend or something of that nature, the way that it was pretty much sold and the way that it goes about and all that stuff. But All-Star Weekend is not really played its part over the last 10 years, in my opinion. You know, when you got no-name guys in the dunk contest and then you got guys in the three-point contest that are volume shooters, but not really the best three-point shooters that are in the NBA. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, you know, it used to be a competition for the three-point shootout guys. They were specialists. They weren't already a ball-hogging star as is. You know, guys that throw up shots from half court and, you know, all this crazy extra stuff that literally is asinine when you think about true shot selection. But I think that all in all, the three-point contest is still going to always be one that everybody gravitates to, because in the three-point contest, it's a better competition. You know what I mean? You really don't know who's going to win it. But the dunk contest, you always have a favorite, and usually that favorite does show up and win. But the thing is, this year they have guys in there that just nobody knows, period. Like, you really do have a group of guys for this NBA dunk contest that are like the 12th man on their bench, and they might be in the G League like Mac McClung. Mac McClung's not even on their roster, okay? Like, that's what makes this even funnier, is that the guy's not on their roster right now. The guy plays for their G League affiliate. So they're saying he's on the 76ers, but he's really on the Delaware 86ers or whatever they're called. But I'm looking at it right now, and you got Jericho Sims. What the hell has he done this season? Mac McClung, he plays for the Blue Coats. That's not in the NBA. Kenyon Martin is another guy who he has some bounce. Okay, he has some bounce. I've seen Kenyon Martin do some crazy things, but he's back and forth to the G League as well too. And who the hell is Trey Murphy? Like, seriously, like, you have guys that are really no names, and it's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? It's gonna be tough to really be able to say to yourself that let's go ahead and have some fun with this weekend. And who am I gonna go with? Like, I don't know who we're gonna go with. And I just feel that, you know, All-Star Weekend is just not the same anymore. They don't care about the game because, see, I used to watch the All-Star game and really love watching the All-Star game because you would see the great veterans of the NBA have a good show off for the fans a little bit. Then you would see who's going to be the new faces of the NBA in the game as well too, or guys that are on the come up and things like that, or guys who were just rewarded for a really great first half of the season as well too. So that was fun to watch. And then what happens is the best of the best get on the court the last 9-10 minutes of the game, and they say that we're going to play seriously, we're going to play some defense, and it becomes the most competitive game that you can ever look at in your life. They're going basket for basket, block for block, steal for steal, showing the superior skills of the NBA. And I felt like that was always fun. Now they just have a glorified shoot around. You know what I mean? Where guys run up and down the court, they clear the lane for a big dunk, not playing defense, throwing up threes. And they said that this is actually entertaining the crowd. I don't think so. I think that you're taking the lazy way out. And I think you got to stop taking the lazy way out. I know a lot of these guys don't want to risk injury, things of that nature, but at the end of the day, you're really not going to risk anything by just going a little hard. You actually risk injury more by being lazy. So I truly feel like if they took the All-Star game more seriously, they would take the All-Star weekend more seriously. I think that we get a little bit more drama out of the rising stars now. But all in all, the dunk contest, I got Mac McClung in that one just because he's not in the NBA right now, and I feel like they want to have some type of crazy story that a non-NBA guy for the first time wins the dunk contest. So he's sitting at plus 240 right now. I like Kevin Warder in the three-point competition. You got Jason Tatum. You also have Lauri Markkanen. You have Dame Lillard in it as well, too, and Buddy Hield. I did have Buddy Hield, I think, last season. Buddy Hield won for me then, but now I'm going to go with the redhead assassin, Kevin Warder. I think Kevin Warder is good money for us. He's been good all year for Sacramento. So, yeah, NBA All-Star Weekend, it once again, is what is it? Team Giannis versus Team LeBron, all that. Whatever, like, why can't it just be the East versus the West and we all throw on our regular uniforms and go have a good time, man? That's what I really want to see. But, they're really trying hard. Now, if they were playing for home court advantage in the finals or something like that, we could see a serious game, but I don't think that they want to put that measure on these teams because then that's when complaining will begin. So it is what it is at the NBA. At the end of the day, NBA All-Star Weekend, always a fun weekend to be a part of. If you are in the NBA and if you are selected for it, and simply if you are just in the league and you just want to be out for the weekend. But this is like pretty much the NBA convention of old and new, and then all the groupies, all the entertainers will all be out to go ahead and try to be seen and act like they NBA too. So it is what it is at the end of the day. We move forward from there, and let's get into some real basketball, some college basketball. So when the college basketball, we have ourselves some really good games that are coming up this weekend. We have ourselves, I have about 7 games I'm going to talk about in different conferences as well too. You have the Big Ten this weekend. Illinois at number 14, Indiana. Illinois is coming in there 17-18, and then you have Indiana who's 18-8. I don't have lines on all of them, but I did get the early line on this game as well too. It's -4.5 to Indiana, and this one right here, yeah, man, it was way more competitive when it was East versus West, and you had guys that really want to go ahead and win the game. My greatest example of the All-Star game is when they ended the Let's Play series in the All-Star game was when the West had like a 20-some-odd point lead midway through the third quarter, and it looked like they were about to win the game by 40. What they did was they had 4 members of the Detroit Pistons, and this is that Bad Boys 2.0 Detroit Pistons squad, and they absolutely locked them up. They started playing physical basketball, locked them up. Game became a bore. The East actually won by double digits right after that. So that's why when they started making it to where we got to stop playing so much damn defense in this game. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. But I wish they would go back to the good old days of the All-Star game. But in this game, though, let's keep our head on a swivel. We have an Indiana team that has some weapons. They have Big Trace, who's to me top 5 guys for the Naismith Award this year. They also have a very balanced unit that's all upperclassmen as well too. So they have a very important game for them tomorrow. You know, Illinois is sitting in the 6 hole in the conference, while Indiana's third place right now. And surprise, surprise, that Northwestern and Indiana game was bigger than most thought it would be. And Northwestern finds itself in second place in the Big Ten, and Indiana finds themselves in third place. So you have an Indiana team that's 13-1 at home. They're playing great basketball there as well. Illinois is a team, though, that can come in there and absolutely shock the system if they want to. And pretty much this game is way more important than it looks on paper. This is probably the best matchup of the weekend out of everybody in the Big Ten as well, too. So I truly do like the way that this element is set up. And when you're giving us 4.5 points, I truly do feel like this game is going to come down to the final moments as well. So whoever wins is going to have the ball last. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. I do favor Indiana a bit here because they have played lights out at home, but then you have an Illinois team. They might not be that great on the road, but they know how to step it up in big spots like this because they still are chasing the tournament spot as well, even though they do have a great win over UCLA earlier this year, but they have dropped their last 2 out of 3. So they want to get back in on the winning side. So this game is really really a game they can't lose. Indiana is in good shape. They're already ranked 14. They're pretty much telling us that Indiana should be in the tournament regardless of outcome at this point. So I think that all in all, this is going to be a really, really good spot for both these teams tonight. This is their only matchup of the season as well, too. So it should be a lot of fun. Indiana beat the Fighting Illini 80-65 back on January 19th. So they did already beat Illinois this year. So this is a get back game, but they got to take them seriously here. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Big East. Big East got a good old G matchup with Seton Hall coming in at 16-11. And then you have UConn 19-7. And UConn is a team that's lost all their games in conference play this year. That's what really makes it so funny with them this season is that they came into conference play, I think 15-0. And since they started, or 13-0, something of that nature, and since that point, they literally have found themselves back and forth with the winning and losing in the conference this year. So you have them sitting at this. If we started the conference tournament today, they would be a 6 seed. They're 8-7. They came into the conference 11-0. So, that goes to tell you, but they're still 20th ranked because they did beat the team that is the number 1 team in the nation right now by 15 points. So, they're sitting kind of pretty because we have 5 ranked teams in the Big East. They're not top 20. None of them are in the top 10, but they're still all they still all align the top 11 through 25. You got Marquette number 11. You got Providence number 24. You have Xavier 16, Creighton 18, and then Seton Hall is not ranked because they're 16-11, but they're a game ahead of Connecticut here in the standings. They would be the 5th seed if we started the tournament today. So this game is huge for Connecticut because they want to keep on having a winning record here in the conference, because this conference is really tough this year because they're really top heavy right now. But if you're in the middle, then this is something they might look at that could affect your tournament seeding. But I think the 5 that are ranked are in. And Seton Hall and Villanova, Seton Hall and St. John's probably will battle it out for that final spot. I would say Villanova would need to win the tournament outright to go ahead and even think about being in the class of 65. But most likely Villanova winds up in the NIT. So that's what I'm looking at right here. I think that Big East gets 6 teams in, and then they'll mess around and get 2 teams into the NIT. So they'll have 8 teams that are going to be tournament eligible this year. But DePaul, Georgetown, Butler, they need miracles. That they do. But I think UConn can start a nice little run here. Seton Hall, though, is always a tough out. They truly are. and coming off of winning 3 straight and then losing by 3 to Creighton on the road, I think that Connecticut knows that it's about that time. So they have 5 games left, 3 at home, and they're huge spots. Seton Hall, Providence back to back. Then they play St. John's. Looks like that game will be at the Garden as well too. So that's a huge game. And then the trap game is against DePaul, and then they wrap up the season with Villanova. So this should be some good work for Seton Hall coming into this game, and some good work for UConn. But this is the best game of the weekend in the Big East. This will settle like really who truly is going to be in the top half of the tournament as well too. Because at this point right now, UConn's not going to win the regular season title of the Big East, but they can have better seeding because they want to line it up right. They're sitting in 6 right now. If they sitting at 5, then that means they'll play the 1 seed in the second round. I think that they would much rather probably jump up to that 3rd seed, which is still possible, but they're going to need a little bit of help. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Let's jump into a A10 game tomorrow. This is going to be a really fun game. Fordham, there's a story with me in Fordham. VCU 19-7, Fordham 21-5. Fordham was one of the only schools that I got an actual, application letter from and everything like that to go to that school. So I always hold Fordham near and dear to me. And I always be like, well, if I was smarter, I would have made that decision and, went to school in the Bronx. So I kind of adopted it as my little school because they actually took some interest in me. So Fordham 21-5 coming into the game. VCU is 19-7. Fordham is playing out of their minds right now. This team is just great basketball all around. They've won 3 in a row, and they've actually won their last 8 out of 9 games as well too. After losing 3 out of 4 for a stretch as well too. But right after they ran into that roadblock, they went on an absolute tear. So they're sitting pretty right now. They're playing against VCU for the first time this season as well too. So they're looking to go ahead and keep the good times rolling. They were able to get a nice win over St. Bonnie's last time out, but they were at home. They wound up beating them by 15. Last time on the road, though, they had a great game against Davidson. They wound up beating them by 2 points in the final moments. So, you have a team that is really set on being, a team that's going to be in the tournament. We know that the A10 is not what the A10 used to be because they've literally kind of took away the idea that they can be more than just a one school conference now. You know what I mean? Before, the A10 was always promised at least 2 to 3 schools, at least minimum. And at some points they will get 5 or 6 in at the tournament. This year, they'll be lucky to get 2 in there because the way that it's set up right now, it would favor teams like VCU and teams like Dayton, if they're doing better. But at this point right now, this is just really about what are we doing moving forward? This is a battle of first place as well, too. VCU's 10-3 in conference. You have Fordham is 9-4, who split with Dayton for the season as well, too. So this game is huge because it's going to say who's going to be hosting in Brooklyn. But Fordham has the most wins in the conference. They're 21-5. They have the best record. They're 16-2 at home, 5-3 on the road. So this team is really, really looms a danger tonight. VCU's a team that's been kind of inconsistent all season as well, but they've been able to get their fair share of wins. They had a nice little 6-game winning streak before that snap. Since then, they've won their last 3 out of 5, but they did lose a few games back to Dayton by 4. So they're keeping these games really close, and that's one thing that says, okay, VCU should be right in the mix of things here, and it should be the toughest game of the year for Fordham. This is a step-up game for Fordham, and I know what's going to happen here. They're probably going to make VCU a big favorite here, and it's going to wind up working against VCU as well, too. So this is going to be a game that I look forward to. The game is actually going to be on the USA Network as well, too. 2:30 Eastern time, 11:30 Pacific time. So I look forward to it. I'll be all eyes. Don't hit my phone. I'm going to be all over this one. Fordham, let's see what they can do. VCU, trying to get back to another tournament. And we all know what VCU did years ago in those back-to-back Final Four appearances as well, too. So there it is. There it is. We move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, and that's going to be this one right here. It's going to be Kansas and Baylor, and this will be the game of the weekend. This features two top 10 teams. You have Baylor coming in here number 9 in the nation, 20-6, and you have Kansas coming in here 20-5, number 5 in the nation. And Kansas has the opportunity to go back into being the number 1 team in the nation as well too. And I think that Kansas might be the only factor in UCLA's way, because if they wind up beating Baylor, that win will be more significant than UCLA beating up a 3-win Cal team. So I know that Kansas is in a tough spot this weekend because Baylor has actually won the last 2 matchups in Lawrence as well too. So this is a real check 'em game for Kansas. Kansas has 4 losses in conference play as well, and they've lost to all the big boys in conference. So this one right here doesn't differ. You know what I mean? This is another really, really tough game for this Kansas team. It seems like Kansas is in a tough game every Saturday. So them going back to back, it seems very, very likely, because after you get done playing the Big 12, as tough as the Big 12's been this season, everybody else is damn near barbecue chicken. And you're sitting in a conference that has 6 ranked teams. Okay, 6 ranked teams. And every single one of these teams at one point were ranked this year. Oklahoma was ranked at a time this year. West Virginia was ranked at a time this year. Texas Tech was ranked at a time this year. I think the only team that probably wasn't ranked this year was Oklahoma State. And the craziest part about it is that you have an Oklahoma team that's sitting in last place in the conference, but they're 13-13 on the season. So they can get into the NIT as well too. And the craziest part about this conference is that they have 6 teams that are ranked, but it looks like they're going to get 8 into the tournament, because you can say that, if Texas Tech is able to win some more games, because they do have wins against notable teams earlier on in the season, that they can get in as a 12-loss team. You know what I mean? And then you look at West Virginia, it's the Bobby Huggins effect. They can get in as an 11-loss team, but they'll probably lose a little bit more before that point in time. But it's crazy when you have 3 teams that have 20-plus wins here. So this is really, like, at the end of the day, they probably will have 2 number 1 seeds coming out of this conference as well. It sounds crazy today, but I think that Texas and Kansas wind up possibly going into that situation. But I know for sure Kansas is going to be a number 1 seed, because even if they don't win the Big 12, they'll be the number 1. They'll be a number 1 seed. They're the defending national champions, and they pretty much showed how good they are out of on a non-conference schedule. Yes, they lost to Tennessee, but that was on a neutral court, battle for Atlantis. Everybody knows how tough that situation is for any team at that point of the year. So it is what it is at the end of the day. Baylor's coming. Baylor has made some great strides after getting blown away earlier this year in that Big 12 Big East matchup that they had against Butler. Like, everybody got caught off guard. We really weren't taking them seriously. Well, actually, it was Marquette that blew them away. That was Kansas State that got blown out by Butler. So, they wind up losing 3 games in a row. They kind of were writing off Baylor in a sense, as we came into 2023. But since that point, this team has actually wound up winning their last 10 out of 11. And their only loss came to Texas, a 5-point loss at Austin. So they've been good. They've been really good. And they won by double digits last time out. Got a great win at TCU as well, too. TCU, one of the tougher teams in the conference, in my opinion, this season. And also got a very, very good win. Also got a very good road win when it came down to beating West Virginia, a place that is always tough for them to win at. So, Baylor, Kansas does pose the best game of the weekend. It's going to be on, and I know the game is going to be on CBS. We know it's going to be on ESPN at 1 o'clock. I thought it was a CBS game, but it's going to be a really, really good game, and I look forward to it, and I hope that you guys really tune into it and enjoy this game as well, too. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic in hand, and that's going to be our SEC game, and that's going to be between two old rivals, Tennessee and Kentucky. Tennessee comes into this game fresh off of their biggest win of the year, beating number one Alabama. But Tennessee has a great resume going into the tourney as well, too, in my opinion. I think that they have a really good resume simply because of how their resume works. You know what I mean? It's just that this team is really, really good at doing certain things, in my opinion, that will keep this team very, grounded. They're number 10 in the nation. That's huge. And they beat Kansas this year as well. They just didn't beat Alabama. And they've handled their business. It's straight up. Kentucky's a team that's really struggled this year. They haven't played to their expectations, but they still find themselves in the 5-hole for this tourney, and they're 17-9. So it's not that bad how it looks on the surface. But I think it's almost time for Calipari to wrap it up. But you have a Volunteers team that has dropped their last 3 out of 5, but they've won all the important games. They beat Auburn and they beat Alabama, but they lost to Florida by 13. Also had a bad loss to Vanderbilt and another bad loss to Missouri. Both those games were 1-point losses. So that's why they didn't fall that far off the tree. But they were the number 2 team in the nation, and I did not understand why they were the number 2 team in the nation after losing to Florida. So they went to number 6 after that, then lost 2 more. So they come back around. They're playing Kentucky again. Kentucky already beat them this year by 7 in Knoxville. So now they have the rematch here in Lexington, and this is a must-win situation for Kentucky more than it is for Tennessee. But Tennessee doesn't want to be swept by Kentucky either, because what happens here is Kentucky would jump Auburn and find themselves in the 3-hole for this tourney. So I truly feel that, Tennessee is going to come in here and try to shock the system. We know a few weeks ago, the SEC had, I think they had a few ranked teams in the SEC, about 6. Now they only have 2. So, that doesn't say that anything's wrong with the conference. It's just showing us that, things are getting a little tough. Mississippi State is a team 17-9, but 5-8 in conference play. So it's going to be tough for them to get into the tournament, but they're going to be another team that rears their ugly head, because when I'm looking at it right now, record-wise, in a sense, you have a lot of teams in the SEC that could possibly get into the tournament as well, too. You have, from what I'm seeing here, you have 9 teams that all have the resumes to get in here. And you got Arkansas, Mississippi State sitting at 17-9, Georgia 16-10, might take them a little bit more, but this is another conference with mostly winning teams to it. And I would say Florida and Vanderbilt, they just are doing well in conference play, but they're not going to make the tournament this year. But Missouri playing great basketball. And the craziest part about it is when you look at the top 6 overall wins, it's Kentucky who's the worst when it comes to the wins on the season. So, getting in conference play was very helpful for this team as well. But, they really do got to step it up. And this is the type of game where, they get a sweep on Tennessee. It makes their resume going into the tournament that much easier. And we all know Kentucky is going to be probably an 8 or a 9. They won't go they'll still be a single-digit seeded team. They just won't be in the 1 through 5 like we thought they would be. You know what I mean? But this is dangerous for any team that's playing them on Saturday if they are to advance to the next round. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Kentucky still shows that they can be a second weekend team. You know what I mean? I like to say second weekend teams now, you know what I mean? Or third weekend team, So, can they be a second weekend team? Yes. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. We got more games to talk about. 2 more games to talk about. We have ourselves the UConn UNC matchup. This is a Sunday ACC matchup as well, too. UNC last 4 in right now. I think that they really can't afford another loss for the rest of the regular season. Now, losing in their tournament, that's different. But regular season, they really do need to they need to step it up. The time is now, because the team is really, really bad right now. They've lost their last 4 out of 5 games, including their Monday night losing to number 15 Miami by 8 in a game that they should have won. They got a big win over Clemson, who's one of the top teams in the conference right now. They would be the 4 seed if we started the tournament today. The craziest part about this is North Carolina will be rolling in here as the 9 seed this year, and they will probably have to play Syracuse in the first round of all teams in this spot. But really, I think what happens here is that they would wind up playing Louisville to start the tournament off. So they would have to win 5 games in 5 days straight up, or 4 games in 4 days. I can't remember, but they would have to go on a nice little run here. I think they got enough time to where they can actually jump up and be right behind Duke in the 7th seed, because the Duke is sitting here at 9-6. I think when the smoke clears, though, they'll probably have Duke, North Carolina State, and North Carolina all together here, but they need to step it up. It's really starting to become drastic. North Carolina State has been under the radar all year. Nobody has talked about them that much. They've been ranked a lot this season. They've lost their last 2 out of 3, but still, this team does bode the danger as well. They had a nice little 4-game streak snapped by number 8 Virginia at the time, and they got a 30-point win over Boston College. Then came back around Tuesday, lost by 3 to Syracuse. So they need to finish strong here in their last 4 games. They got 3 rivalry games with going against UNC, Wake Forest, and Duke, and so this is where they're at. And then they do line it up with Clemson as well too. So this is a big game for them. But I think North Carolina State is in pole position to already be in the tournament. And I think that you have North Carolina is the team that has way more to lose here. So it is what it is at the end of the day, and that's what it's going to be. All right, we move forward. We got the AAC matchup, and this is going to be between Memphis and Houston. This is one of the better matchups of the weekend as well, too. You have a Houston team that comes into this game with the number 2 ranking in the nation right now as well. They are playing some lights out basketball. They are actually the favorite to win the national championship as well this year. So they are a plus 550. So Houston comes into this probably their most dangerous game in conference play, even though they already lost to Temple this year. But that was Temple is always going to be a tough game because Temple plays really big against big-time teams. Now, Memphis, on the other hand, this is a good measuring stick for them to see if they can really make some moves in this tournament coming up this year. You know what I mean? Houston, on the other hand, though, they need this win to kind of cinch them into the number 1 hole, because if they beat Memphis this weekend, I think a lot of people will ease up to say, okay, that's good, but they're going to have to whoop Memphis, in my opinion, as well, too, because they've given them the number 1 spot 2 times already this year. But I know why they would try to give them the number 1 spot after this weekend, because when you look at their last 4 games of the year, Tulane, East Carolina, Wichita State, and Memphis again, you literally have it to where they should probably win out for the rest of the year. So we'll see how it goes. They only got 2 losses on the season, so that's what's going to help them out a lot as well. So, Houston, Memphis, this winds up being one of the better games of the weekend, but I like Memphis to get the upset here. I just feel like every time Houston has to play in a big game with some pressure on them, they tend to fold. And I think Memphis knows that this is a good proving game, and I think they're going to prove some points. So we're going to go ahead, and I think Memphis goes ahead and gets the win. I'm going to have a nice little parlay ticket for you guys tomorrow for this whole situation. So you guys be on the lookout for that. So there it is. Those are the 7 games that I feel are the best betting games and the best games to watch this weekend on either ESPN, FS1, Fox, or CBS. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next topic in hand, and that's going to be the CBB Bets List. And CBB Bets List is for Friday, and we have 5 conferences featured. And the first conference up is going to be the Horizon League. The Horizon League, we have Oakland at minus 135. Cleveland State minus 125, and we have the Indiana, Purdue, Fort Worth is our plus 125 money line. All right, we move forward, and we have the Ivy League bets list. We have Dartmouth plus 9.5 going against Cornell. You got Columbia playing against Harvard today. We got them with the plus 9.5. And then we got Yale in their spot today going against Brown. Is it Brown? Yeah. No, I think Princeton's playing Brown. Yale is playing Penn. So I'm taking Yale in this spot with the minus 150. And then we have Princeton with the minus 6.5. They got a tough matchup against Brown today, but I know that we're dealing with the toughest matchup with Yale and Penn, where I put the money line spot at. All right, so we got my favorite conference, the Don and Cape Cod's favorite conference, the Metro Bets List. It's really called the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, but I like calling it the Metro. So the Metro, we got Manhattan tonight in a rivalry game with Iona plus 16.5. We got Niagara tonight in a pretty fun spot for them. I think that this is a really, really fun game against Mount St. Mary's, who's returned to the Metro after being in the American East for some time. So we're either American East or the Patriot, but they returned to this conference. So pretty much I like where we're at with Niagara tonight on the road. We got Marist at home with the plus 105. I like the way that Marist is pulling into this game. I think that this is a huge spot for them as well, too. I like Ryder tonight with the minus 6.5 at home. And then Sienna's playing in a real toss-em-up game with Quinnipiac, and I like them with the minus 145. So there it is. There it is. We get 5 games in the Metro tonight. All right, we got the Mountain West Conference Bets List. We got Air Force, who's hotter than fish grease right now, going into Wyoming, who's coming off of a big win over New Mexico the other night. Can Air Force catch them slipping, though? Because we got to remember they're still not really that good of a team, Wyoming, but they do tend to show up when they need to show up. I think tonight with them as a favorite, they're not as flashy, and they're not as valuable to me tonight as a favorite. They're a better dog than anything. So I do like Air Force tonight because they've came up big as a dog all season. I love them at plus 170. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Then we got New Mexico in a toss-em-up game against San Jose State tonight. New Mexico coming up fresh off of a bad loss the other night to Wyoming at home. I think they bounced back big here against the San Jose State team that is a little inconsistent, and I think that they probably think that they're in for a big night tonight, and I think they're going to be fairly surprised by the effort that New Mexico brings, and I don't even see this game being that close. I think New Mexico wins this game by a dozen or better. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next topic. It's going to be the WAC Bets List. WAC, we got the 8.5 on Southern Utah tonight. Also, we're going to go ahead and rock out with the Abilene Christian with the plus 240 tonight. And it's crazy because Southern Utah used to be in the Big Sky. Now they've moved over to the WAC. So I like them tonight in that spot. I'm taking them with the 8.5. And then I do like Abilene Christian with the plus 240 money line tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And that's going to be our WAC bets list for tonight. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Talking Tickets. And with Talking Tickets, we have ourselves the Super High 5 for the NCAA for CBB. We got Dartmouth with the plus 10. That's the latest line. We got Dayton with the minus 7. We got Manhattan with the plus 16. We got Cleveland State with the minus 130. And then we wrap it up with New Mexico at plus 105. And this is going to give us a 24-1 ticket. All right. So we move forward and we have ourselves the NBA Saturday night bets. And the NBA Saturday night bets go a little something like this. We have ourselves the 3-point shootout plus 550, 5-1 on Kevin Warder. Then we have the Rising Stars. I'm going to go with Team Paul. That's going to be plus 150. And then we have Mac McClung plus 240 to win the dunk contest. So that's our NBA Saturday night bets right there for you. And with that, that's going to be a wrap on today and this week for the Primetime Angles, the premier sports betting show hosted by the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So with that, I want to thank you guys once again. There is no me without you. As I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. And the movement is moving. I'll be back to you guys Monday, and we'll have so much to talk about when it comes to college basketball and the NBA as well, and a little bit of a little bit of boxing as well too. So you guys stay tuned, and I'll be right back to you. Until then, I am gone.